A day after the Baltimore Ravens backed out of the trade, which would have landed them Maxx Crosby, the Ravens agreed to sign free agent defensive end Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $112 million deal, which could be worth up to $120 with incentives. Wednesday, Ravens GM Eric DeCosta addressed the speculation that Baltimore moved out of that Crosby trade due to cold feet.
I mean, I understand it. You know, I understand it. We live in that age of skepticism, and people question, especially people that don't really know me or know the Ravens culture and the Ravens organization. So I understand it. I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea, is this the best thing for the Ravens? But nobody's more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. And so a big regret for me. But we will move on as a football team, and I think there's many opportunities for us to grow as a team, to become a better team, to build a roster, and to be the team that we want to be.
The sentiment that I've seen mostly on television and social media paints the Ravens as the villains, and they did the Raiders and Crosby dirty. But the fine print of any deal in any sport is that it is pending a physical. Crosby, of course, was coming off knee surgery, and he was in Baltimore Tuesday with his family. Something spooked the Ravens. Now, if it was all contrived and cold feet, the line immediately forms at the Raiders' door to now bid on one of the very best at his position who's suddenly available again, right? I mean, the Cowboys were in there trying to make a deal before Baltimore trumped it with 2 firsts, and their doctor reviewed the same medical information on Tuesday, according to our Adam Schefter. The Cowboys going to make another offer? They could. Ravens, meanwhile, were very fortunate they could immediately pivot to Trey Hendrickson, who suddenly had the leverage to get to a number that nobody else in the league seemed willing to reach. Baltimore needed a pass rusher. He was there, and now he will be moving to Baltimore.
And the Baltimore Ravens electing to back out of this proposed trade deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, for those of you out there that are appalled by this, because obviously it put the Las Vegas Raiders in a bad spot because they believed that they had a deal, even though it's always pending a physical, and the guy is coming off his meniscus tear. He had the surgery. His ability to recuperate, he was expected to be back for the season by the time of season or even before then when training camp started. In reality, the bottom line is this. You, the Baltimore Ravens, it gave you ample opportunity to contemplate the decision that you were making. And to me, we all know that Maxx Crosby, next to Myles Garrett, Maxx Crosby is that dude, is a monster that goes after the quarterback. We understand that part. But outside of that, let's put this in perspective. The Ravens don't have to give up 2 first-round picks. And if you get to hold on to 2 first-round picks and then you're still able to go out there and get a Trey Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals, who's within a division, who before last year where he only played 7 games and really didn't do anything, had led the league in sacks over the previous 2 years with 35, and nobody was within 4 of him. I mean, when we look at that and we take that into consideration, we have to sit up there and give respect where it's due and say to ourselves, okay, Baltimore Ravens did what they needed to do to position themselves to be in a better position so they wouldn't have to give up but so much. That's my perspective on it, no doubt about it. Let's hear from a couple of people. Tom Telesco spoke about this when he was on NFL radio in March. Take a listen to this at the time.
It's happened before. Usually when that happens, usually maybe make some adjustments to the trade. You can always back out of it. I mean, a trade is never official until all the papers are signed. And part of the papers being signed, a player has to report to the club and he has to pass the physical. This is a major game changer for the Raiders because they just went through all of free agency with one thought in mind, especially spending a lot of money. And now they potentially have Maxx Crosby's contract coming back onto their salary cap. Now they have plenty of room, but you weren't planning and budgeting for that. So this is going to be interesting.
Let's hear from Dan Orlovsky and what he had to say about, once learning that the Maxx Crosby trade was being called off. Listen to Dan Orlovsky of ESPN. Here's what he had to say.
I'm a viewer right now. I'm not an expert in this, so I have so many questions of, well, when the surgery happened, was it deemed a successful surgery? to have concerns about him long term, how did you not have concerns about him long term on Friday when you executed the trade, but then you do have concerns long term today? That would be that drastic. I understand that if he had a meniscus repair, right? But he had a meniscus repair. Of course, you're going to have long.
Are all those exactly the same?
I would imagine they're somewhat similar. It's a meniscus,
but one way or another.
So, like, what changed from Friday that drastically? I understand it, but how does it go from executing this to, oh my gosh?
That was Dan Orlovsky. Needless to say, Adam Schefter, the great Adam Schefter, who's expected to be on the call, you know, one of the biggest news about it is that Trey Hendrickson had been out there on the free agent market. We all knew he was looking to leave Cincinnati. And as a result, getting him is nothing to just dismiss. The reality is that he's in the AFC North. He's a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. We know their defense was trash, but he wasn't. And so because he wasn't when healthy, you have to imagine what will the Baltimore Ravens look like with him. But nobody was thinking about him because it was believed that the Baltimore Ravens were getting Maxx Crosby. But it was Adam Schefter who informed us that the Ravens have been talking to Trey Hendrickson all along. Listen to this.
Baltimore Ravens initially were talking to Trey Hendrickson about playing with Maxx Crosby. So they were talking to him all along. Now Maxx Crosby gets taken out of the equation, and Trey Hendrickson reaches an agreement on a 4-year deal with the Ravens that will keep him in Baltimore, and he will now stay in the AFC North. He had been looking for guaranteed money. He had been looking for stability. He had been looking for a long-term deal. Baltimore gives him those particular long-term deals.
And there you have it. Here's what I would tell you. There's a lot of things to look at here. First things first, maybe everybody should shut the hell up until the physical's taken. Because since the physical wasn't completed, Baltimore always had the power to back out, which they exercised. Number 2, your Maxx Crosby. How should we feel about him? How should we feel for him, rather, at this particular moment in time? Because guess what? Even though teams are calling the Las Vegas Raiders about him, the reality is that he may end up staying in a Las Vegas Raider. And I got news for you. The only thing good about the Las Vegas Raiders is Tom Brady. That's it. You know, when Tom Brady is a minority owner for your franchise and you're scheduled to pick somebody like Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana as the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft, that is a good thing because a 7-time champion at the quarterback position is picking your quarterback. All right? So this is not expected to be a Jamarcus Russell kind of situation. So that's good. Now, if you're Maxx Crosby, here's the question. Why the hell would you want to stay with the Raiders? Why? I mean, unless you're that tight with Tom Brady, unless all of a sudden you like Clint Kubiak as your coach, unless you're fantasizing about Fernando Mendoza being the second coming of Dan Marino, why would you want to stay with the Raiders? Inquiring minds want to know, because I don't understand it. I mean, we talk about Sin City. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We used to say that because of the casinos, the gambling, the women, the prostitution, and all of that other stuff. Now we say that because of the Raiders. What happens in Vegas should stay the hell in Vegas. Stay the hell in Vegas. Don't go anywhere else because you're contaminating football fields all over the place if you're the NFL Raiders because you stink that badly. Not Tom Brady, of course. Just the rest of them. So that's what you got going on.